Not me being early. What is going on, everyone? Come on in. Come on in. Let me know where you are watching from. I'm streaming live from New York City, where we are having a polar vortex. First of all, can you guys hear me? Let me make sure. Let me know if you can hear me. We got a few little hot topics that I wanted to talk about. I did go live earlier talking about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but I did have a couple of short videos that I posted as well. And there were a few stories I wanted to talk about extensively and also play some audio for you. So let me give you guys a moment. Be sure to share the live. Thank you for the 14 people that already liked the video. Okay. I'm going to give people a moment to get in here before we begin. Hey everyone, come on in, come on in. Just left New York on Sunday when it was sunny and warm. Happy I got out in time. You're right. You're right, because we had a nice weekend. It was warmer than usual. Hey Lalani, but the polar vortex hit Monday? I was like, oh my gosh, this is cold. This is cold. Be sure to let me know where you guys are watching from. Again, don't forget to share the live. Don't forget to like the live. That's all important. I'm going to start in just a second. I'm a little early. Hey, Landa. What's going on? Hey, everyone. Love from LBC. What's LBC? What's LBC? Denver's in the building. You'll sent the cold water to Florida. 47 degrees yesterday. Sorry, Marcel. We don't have control over the polar vortex. Everyone in the country is feeling it. Sorry. Oh, Mouth Open says, if Mary was white, it wouldn't be a cult. Do you guys agree with that? Some people are saying that too. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into a few different stories. But again, as you're coming in, be sure to like the live. Be sure to share the live as well. I'm your boy, TheKempire. Welcome to the Kempire channel. Let me actually, because I'm going to record the audio of this. Let me just go do that. All right, guys, welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. We do this all the time because I know some people think, oh, you just talk about reality television, you just talk about the Real Housewives. And no, we talk about everything in pop culture. Yesterday, we dropped an update in regards to the Wendy Williams story. So if you missed that, be sure to check out that video from yesterday. Apparently, according to a report from new doctors and new neurologists, they're saying that Wendy Williams does not have frontotemporal dementia. They're not saying if she has anything at all. That's her own personal health information. However, this is a diagnosis that the Guardian has claimed that Wendy has had for a period of time. And they're also claiming that with this particular diagnosis, you would see decline over time. And we have not seen decline over time with Wendy Williams. So, and there's an ongoing case where the Guardian is suing on behalf of Wendy A&E for the Where's Wendy Williams documentary. So I'll give you an update in regards to that as well. So be sure to check that out if you missed it. And as you can see, if you're watching the video version of this, I've already started decorating for the holidays a little bit. The tree isn't up yet because the tree hasn't arrived yet. So soon the tree will be up and then you'll see the Christmas tree behind me. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. All right, before we get into the Mary Cosby of it all, you may have seen, because we don't always talk about Donald Trump, but we do talk about Donald Trump because he was a celebrity at one particular point. Now he's gotten into politics, has been the president for 2 terms or a term and a half at this particular point. Not even a half, but you get what I'm saying. So the Epstein files is back in the news. As you know, there was the government shutdown. There's an implosion within the Democratic Party because there are a lot of Democrats that feel that Senator Schumer is behind these Democrats folding and opening up the government for the sake of affordable health care and the subsidies that come with the ACA, aka the Obamacare. And I remember watching The View the other day with Marjorie Marjorie, what is it, Marjorie Taylor Greene or something? I forgot her full name. And she's sort of made this whole spin in regards to her party. But one of the things that stood out to me, which is interesting because, there have been so many people that are against the Obamacare, the ACA, whatever you want to call it. However, she confirms in 2025 that Republicans still do not have an alternative to Obamacare. Hence why you see all of these extensions when it comes to the ACA subsidies happening. Because if you get rid of Obamacare, there'll be millions of people without health care. However, Republicans still do not have anything equivalent or better. And I will always get on my soapbox and say, I do not understand how the most powerful country in the world does not have universal health care. Argue with your mother, don't argue with me. It makes no sense. There are countries that have way less than us that have universal health care. So you're not telling me as a country that we cannot provide every single person with universal health care. As I said before, argue with your mama, don't argue with me. I'm not arguing that. And now we saw most recently just how dark this country could get. The fact that SNAP benefits were cut off at the beginning of this month, starving elderly people, starving children, starving people in general, because at the end of the day, children, elderly people should not go hungry. People should not be fighting the government or fighting in politics when it comes to food. Okay? Angelique, it is Obamacare. It's called the Affordable Care Act. However, it's Obamacare. It's a whole PR spin. Maybe you didn't understand that, but it's a PR spin to distance themselves from Obamacare. It's ACA is Obamacare. Anyway, either way, whatever you want to call it, I don't understand why the country, the richest country in the entire world, is not able to have universal health care. But we know what that is. As I said before, argue with your mama, don't argue with me. Okay? Anyway, so I say all that to say, and the reason why I talked about the government shutdown, because now the government is opening up and they were able to swear in a new representative who was ready to vote on pushing the Epstein files, a conversation on the House floor in regards to the Epstein files being released. Okay? So I just want to kind of give you some of the updates that were coming through NBC News earlier today. They said Speaker Mike Johnson is scheduled to swear in Rep-elect, I apologize when I mispronounce his name, Adelita Grijalva, apologies, nearly 2 months after the Arizona Democrat won her late father's seat in a special election. Johnson had consistently said that he would administer the oath of office to Adelita when Democrats vote to reopen the government. The Senate passed a bipartisan measure to do just that Monday night, with the House expected to vote on the legislation this evening. Okay. When Adelita is sworn in, the House breakdown will be 219 Republicans to 214 Democrats. So they did swear her in today. I literally saw it. But before we get to that, Epstein referenced Trump in some emails to his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, and a journalist, claiming in one that Trump knew about the girl, according to the emails released by House Democrats. Okay? So I'm just going to read to you. It's redacted a little bit, this email. So this email was sent back on January 31st, 2019 to Michael Wolff. And in it, it's redacted, victim Mar-a-Lago, more is redacted, but it says, Trump said that he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. So the email was apparently referencing Trump and Epstein's soured relationship. The two were friends for years, but the White House said earlier this year that Trump booted Epstein out of his club for being a creep. He took people that worked for me, and I told him, don't do it anymore, and he did it. Trump told reporters in July, adding, "I said, stay the hell out of here." The emails contain multiple references to a victim whose name is redacted in the release, but the White House and Republicans on the committee said that he redacted the name, that the redacted name was Virginia Guthrie, a prominent Epstein survivor who died in April. She also had a book that came out. Trump has said that Guthrie worked for him at a Mar-a-Lago before Epstein, quote, stole her. Guthrie had never accused Trump of wrongdoing, and in her memoir published posthumously this year, she said that Trump couldn't have been friendlier when she first met him while working at Mar-a-Lago. So that was one of the things that came out earlier today. So in a statement to NBC News, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt accused Democrats of, quote, selectively leaking emails to the liberal media to create a fake narrative to smear President Trump. She added, "These stories are nothing more than bad faith efforts to distract from President Trump's historic accomplishments." The way that they just get up there and lie, okay? Historic accomplishments, and any American with common sense sees right through this hoax and clear distraction from the government opening back up again. Do you guys notice there are certain keywords that they put out there that I feel like it's like a trigger to the people that are a part of the MAGA cult? I feel like it's a trigger to those people. They consistently push that out there, like hoax, liberal media, just to trigger these people. And I don't think they realize it because it's been seeped into their brains. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on. We're not done yet, though. After House Democrats released several emails from Epstein to his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, and journalist Michael Wolff, that mentioned Trump, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee made public what they said are 20,000. Let me turn this off, y'all. I don't know why. And mind you, what I just got was a political text message. If y'all don't leave me alone. So after House Democrats released several emails from Epstein to his co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell and journalist Michael Wolff that mentioned Trump. Hold on, y'all. Why is this happening? I just turned off my notifications and I'm still getting, my do not disturb is off. Hold on, y'all. Quit. I don't know why it's doing that. All right. So Republicans on the House Oversight Committee made public what they said are 20,000 pages of documents they obtained from the Epstein estate during their investigation into his case. NBC News is reading through the released documents and will report on their contents. So as you also know, as we mentioned, Representative Adelita Grijalva, a Democrat for Arizona who won the seat of her late father in September's special election, has vowed that she'll be the 218th signature on Massie and Khanna's discharge petition after she is sworn into office, which happened today at 4 p.m. That number represents a simple majority of the entire 435-member House chamber. Under House rules, once a charge petition hits that magic number of 218 signatures, the House must act on it. Those 7 legislative days must pass before a vote can be called. Let me see what else I wanted to mention here. Okay, so the White House is responding to these emails, these Epstein emails. Asked whether Trump has ever spent hours with a victim at Epstein's house, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says, "These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong." She was also asked about a CNN report that indicated that the White House would meet with GOP Rep. Lauren Boebert, who has signed on to a petition to force the House to consider compelling the release of the Epstein files. Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please, she responded. Okay, girl. So So they talk about more about the 2019 email where that I just read to you that was redacted in regards to Trump said that he asked me to resign. They said, okay, in a 2019 email released by the committee today, Epstein wrote to author Michael Wolff that Trump knew about the girls. The email sent several months before Epstein's death read, Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Knew about the girls, okay, and asked her to stop. Trump blamed Democrats for the renewed focus on his ties to Epstein and warned Republicans that they should focus on reopening the federal government. The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects, Trump wrote in a Truth Social post this afternoon. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into the trap. And according to our friends Don Lemon, he says that he has not seen the Trump administration this nervous in a long time, since the original Epstein fiasco. He's now saying today he's seeing a lot of apparently emergency meetings that are happening at the White House about this. Thank you, So Swift, for the super chat. We appreciate your support. So Swift says, I see the decorations are coming along. Nice, Kempire. Just got here. Glad I caught it live. Thank you, So Swift. Yeah, little by little. So, and guys, we're going to go through a bunch of different things. Don't forget to like the video. I am going to be getting into some other topics right now. We're just talking about the Epstein because it's a big story that's been happening today. So, this is what Trump said on socials. He says there should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats, he wrote. In addition to documents, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee flagged that spotlight Trump's previous relationship with Epstein. Republicans on the committee also released 20,000 documents from Epstein's estate. Because of the amount of times that we talked about the Epstein files, how are we supposed to believe whatever comes out from these Epstein files are actually the full files? Because it's been such a focus. And I think on both sides, both Republican and Democrat, there are people that are listed in those Epstein files that are on both sides of the aisle. I don't think this is a Republican or Democratic thing at all. In an email released by Democrats, that Epstein allegedly sent to Maxwell in 2011, Epstein says that Trump spent hours with someone the committee says was a victim. Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence in trafficking charges in connection with Epstein. And I don't know if you guys have heard this, but from Ghislaine, who was moved from her prison to another prison, the same prison that Jen Shaw's at, apparently she's living the life over there in that prison. She's living the life over there. So it sounds to me she got some sort of deal by saying, because you remember she was interviewed, she talked about Trump and she's like, Trump was always fantastic, always a gentleman. I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the quote in front of me. Thank you so much, Rahina, for the super chat. Rahina says, hey, hi, Kempire. Look, so glad I caught you live. Hashtag always watching. Just had to participate. Thank you so much, Rahina. We appreciate that. All right. So they says, I want you to realize that the dog hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at his home, hours at my house with him. He has never once mentioned police chief, etc. I'm 75% there, the email said. Asking during a press briefing whether Trump has ever spent hours with a victim at Epstein's house, Levitt said, these emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. Okay. Danielle Bensky said that she was 17 and a budding ballerina in 2004 when Jeffrey Epstein SA'd her at his Manhattan mansion. That was also the year that Trump claims that he ended his friendship with Epstein. I think the release of the latest emails is another step forward for the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein who have been fighting for years to get the truth out, Bensky told NBC News. We have been banging on the transparency drum for so long, she said. I know that there are politics involved, but we should all be on the side of releasing all the Epstein files once and for all. The largest set of documents released by Republicans on the committee obtained an August 2018 email exchange between former Obama White House lawyer Kathy Rumler and Epstein. Rumler had sent Epstein a link to a New York Times op-ed that referenced former Trump fixer Michael Cohen, who had just pleaded guilty to violating campaign finance laws related to hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. In one email from the exchange, Epstein wrote, "You see, I know how dirty Donald is. My guess is that non-lawyers, New York biz people, have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip." Do you think that's why, allegedly, Epstein was taken out of here? Because of the things he knew about powerful people? Well, that's been the conspiracy theory for a very, very long time. So, as I mentioned to you before, the important final signature to forcing the Epstein files vote happened earlier today from Arizona Democrat Adelita Grijalva. So, more than 7 weeks after her special election victory, Arizona Democrat Adelita Grijalva stood on the House floor and took the oath of office Wednesday, marking the end of a bitter standoff with GOP Speaker Mike Johnson, who had refused to seat her during the record government shutdown. During the 43-day shutdown, the longest in American history, Democrats claimed that Johnson was refusing to seat Adelita to prevent the release of the Justice Department's files from its Jeffrey Epstein investigation. The Epstein matter has plagued President Donald Trump and his allies on Capitol Hill, as many in his MAGA base clamor for more transparency concerning the investigation. So, as I mentioned before, she represents the 218 signature on the bipartisan discharge petition, which would allow rank-and-file lawmakers to bypass Johnson and his leadership team and force a floor vote to release files. She has said that signing the petition will be one of her first acts as a member of Congress. Doing so will force the House to hold a vote in the coming weeks to compel the Justice Department to release all the files related to its investigation into Epstein. Thank you, Jesse. She says it's pronounced Grijalva. Well, thank you. But the bill is unlikely to pass the Senate or be signed into law by Trump, who has personally urged Republicans to block the discharge push. I just don't understand why, if you're not implicated. So who is implicated? I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right. So in a 2015 email released by the Democrats, author Michael Wolff informed Epstein that he heard CNN intended to ask Trump about his relationship with Epstein. Epstein responded by asking, "If we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be?" "I think you should let him hang himself," Wolff responded. "If he says that he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency." Interesting. Let him hang himself. So Wolff told ABC News on Wednesday that he was in an in-depth conversation with Epstein at the time about his relationship with Donald Trump. "I was trying at the time to get Epstein to talk about his relationship with Trump, and actually he proved to be an enormously valuable source to me," Wolff told ABC News. "Part of the context of this is that I was pushing Epstein at that point to go public with what he knew about Trump." And then he ends up gone from this earth. Annie Farmer, a prominent Epstein accuser, called for Congress to pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act after some documents were released today. In a statement, Farmer said that the survivors deserve more than a trickle of information, as the public is left with more questions. The estimated 1,000 women and girls who were harmed by Epstein and his associates deserve full transparency, as do the American people. Farmer has alleged that in 1996, when she was 16, she was flown to New Mexico to spend a weekend with Epstein and was SA'd. She called Maxwell a sexual predator who groomed and abused her during an emotional statement at a 2020 bail hearing for Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, for those that didn't know. So that's the update so far that we know of at this particular time in regards to the conversation around the Epstein files and President Donald Trump and their fight to not have them released. So I wanted to mention that to you all. Let's move on to another topic. Well, since we're talking about, I guess we can go to the cultish behavior. So earlier today, TMZ shared this TLC doc, TLC as in the network. They released a doc trailer, I should say, that's coming January 1st on TLC. And a lot of you have been hitting me up, Kempire, did you see that Mary Cosby has this documentary coming out about her church being a cult? If you are new here and you don't know that we've talked about the Housewives, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I just recapped them earlier today, so be sure to check that out if you missed it. Okay? And we've been down this road with Mary Cosby. That's probably part of the reason why I'm blocked on X when it comes to Mary Cosby. Not blocked on Instagram yet. But we've talked about Mary Cosby and the accusations that her church could be a cult. Since then, the stories behind the church have really simmered. Okay? However, now the church is now back in the headlines because of this documentary. I'm going to play the trailer for you guys. Can you just let me know if you can hear it? Let me just play it really quickly and let me know if you can hear it.
Mary Cosby is the villain that you love on The Real Housewives of Salt.
Can you guys hear it? Just confirm for me if you can hear it. Paris says, did you watch the Surviving Mormonism? What a watch and very powerful. No, it's on my list, Paris. It's you can hear it. Awesome. I'm going to play it for you guys. It is on my list to watch because I've been saying that's the only reason why. Thank you, Judy. Hey, Judy. That's the only reason why I think Heather Gay is important for Salt Lake City, because I feel like she adds the bigger story when we talk about Salt Lake City and Mormonism. And the people have accused Mormonism of being a cult. Just saying. Not to say that we're trying to normalize cults, but it's important to note that. Orange, you haven't missed anything. We're about to play the trailer from the TLC documentary on Mary Cosby's church allegedly being a cult. Take a listen. I'm going to stop and go. We're playing this under fair use for research and commentary purposes.
Mary Cosby is the villain that you love on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Mary's the pastor of Faith Temple Pentecostal Church.
I'm chosen.
Mary being married to her step-grandfather.
Then they post a picture of Mary Cosby's stepfather, grandfather, husband. And there's a picture with his first wife, her grandmother, and a picture of her and this man together. I mean, he definitely had a little bit of a glow up.
Being married to her step-grandfather was the only thing that people could talk about.
This was the reason that people were watching the show.
He was saying that God was telling him to marry my sister. Next thing you know, she's in his house and they're doing God knows what.
You married your grandpa, and that's it.
Feel the power taking over.
I absolutely believe that Mary and Robert are running it.
Savannah says, this is the third documentary from Salt Lake City. That says a lot. That says that Salt Lake City is that girl. That says that Salt Lake City is bringing a lot of attention to Bravo, and it's a hot topic conversation. So that could confirm that Salt Lake City is very popular. Sidebar, there are a lot of people asking why Salt Lake City doesn't have an after show, and we're getting after shows from Orange County, we're getting after shows from Potomac, we're getting after shows from Miami. But we are getting these YouTube conversations where they're individually speaking about the episodes and they're releasing them on YouTube. I don't think a lot of people know that. And I think the reason why they're doing that, because I feel like something must have happened during the season, why they're keeping them separate instead of doing, like, you know, two people together kind of thing. I feel like there's a reason why they're keeping the groups separate right now. Big Miss Muffin says, is that Brittany Bateman singing? No.
I absolutely believe that Mary and Robert are running a cult.
In the eyes of the Faith Temple Church, she is God.
But you ain't coming to that unless you come with me and go that.
What's up,
I'm cool.
Sidebar. I need to, again, this is just a trailer, but I need to know who these people that are providing commentary on, because I'm sort of like, okay, are you someone that was a part of the church? Have you been following the church? Did you speak to people that were in the? I don't know who these people are that are providing commentary. I do recognize this guy. There's a guy. Remember the bald guy? I believe wasn't he on? He was on. Is this the guy that? No, that was another person. I recognize one of the people that are in the documentary. I know he was a member of the church. I agree. Toya says no new teas being spilled. Again, it's a trailer. You know, we talk about trailers all the time. Sometimes trailers are just done badly, and you're sort of like, okay, nothing new was given to us. However, maybe within the actual documentary that's coming on TLC on January 1st, they're not paying me, but they should. Jen Shaw did have a documentary, Jesse.
For your family to put Robert and Mary first.
Mary's kink is money.
Not Mary's kink is money.
If you have skeletons in your closet, you better not join a reality TV show.
What do y'all think that
I will say the footage that they're sharing within the church is, and again, if you've been to a black church, nothing that they're sharing within this black church footage in this trailer, because if you've never been to a black church and you're someone that's just watching this, you're like, what are they doing? You're seeing people catch the Holy Ghost. And I'm like, this is not necessarily cultish behavior that y'all are showing in here. You're just showing what happens in a black church a lot of the time. Based off the trailer, y'all, just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that, we've had our conversations and reports on this church. However, based on what they're showing, is not it's not what you would typically think of a cult. Exactly. Jess says, I grew up in a Pentecostal church. It's very normal.
we're actually getting away with? It's time for people to know the truth. The cult of the real housewife.
The cult of the real housewife is what they said. It's coming out on TLC. It will also stream on HBO Max Thursday, January 1st. That's New Year's Day. I think they want to get, what's the word? Like clout chase off of the popularity of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. It's currently on. So, I mean, I'm going to watch it because you never know. It might be actually good. It might be good. I don't know. We shall see. But based on the trailer, it did not excite me. It did not excite me to be like, oh, I definitely want to see this. But I'll watch it to report back because this is my job. If this wasn't my job, then I don't know if I would watch it. Or at least I wouldn't prioritize watching it. All right. Peachy says, who's showing this? TLC, but then it will also stream on HBO Max. Orange so basically I put my tree up. If I had my tree would be up. My tree's not up yet, but it will be. Okay. Jeff says, did Bravo approve this? They don't have to approve this because they're not including footage from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. They're talking about one of their stars, which we've seen them do before in regards to like Hulu. Hulu did documentaries on Jen Shaw. They did documentaries on Erica Jane. So they don't need Bravo's approval. So that is the documentary that's coming out in regards to Mary Cosby's church being a cult. All right, here's my final story that I want to get into, okay? And then we can do a little Q&A at the end. But I want to, okay, let me see what you guys say. Okay, it's not related to what we're talking about. So sorry, y'all, I want to stay focused. All right, so I'm going to play some audio from Law and Crime in regards to this case. So there's this case, Brene Kennard. She's a TikTok user. She has like almost 3 million followers. You know, we've covered stories before when it comes to the alienation of affection law in North Carolina. There are certain states that have that law, but it's always North Carolina where people are utilizing it. Okay? And we found out yesterday that Brene Kennard was sued by a former friend for stealing her husband, basically. Okay? She lost the case. She represented herself and she lost the case. The judge ordered her to pay Akira Montague $1.75 million. She was actually asking for $3.5 million. Alexa says, yes, let's get into the ghetto mess. Remember Fantasia was sued under this law? Remember Nene Leakes was sued under this law? Fortunately for them, it never went anywhere. Okay? However, this story, I did a quick video on this, but there's so much more in regards to it. So I had to play, because what I love about Law and Crime, and please be sure to go watch their full video. Okay? It's very interesting in regards to the legal aspect of this. So let me just play for you some of the audio. I've sped it up so that we're not here for another half hour. So just keep that in mind, why it sounds the way it sounds, okay?
Can you get your hair out of my milkshake?
Pick it up.
And she's very popular on I've never seen any of her videos on TikTok, but I remember hearing about this story a while back. But, I don't really get into all of the TikTok news and stuff like that. But when there's a story that crosses over into a law that we've talked about before with Fantasia and Nene Leakes, I said, and she lost. But I love the way that Law and Crime breaks it down, because there's certain nuggets that came out during the trial that we need to talk about. So I will be stopping and going. We're playing this under fair use. Be sure to check out their full video if you want to hear it. Okay? Let me play this for you.
I'm driving.
Boy, when does that ever stop
Who
you?
you talking to, bro? Chill out.
Tim, when does that ever, Tim,
Talk to
please?
me,
No. When does that ever stop you from picking your drinks up?
A bombshell lawsuit and a bombshell trial. A woman sued a social media star for having an affair with her ex-husband and destroying their marriage. And while not available in every state, North Carolina actually...
Sidebar, I'd be mad as hell. I will have to say, Kara is so cute. Girl.
allows people to sue for this. And wait till you hear what happened at trial, where this online influencer...
Right, Alexis. She says, mind you, both parties were married. But at one particular point, Brene was living with them. But Brene used to date Tim back in high school. It's a mess, y'all. It's important to understand. So Brene's the one who is sued under the law of, alienation of affection law and lost.
Who represented herself, questioned the woman suing her. This was an intense showdown that all culminated with a major verdict. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Now, as we're talking about laws that you may not have heard of, here's a fun fact that you may not have heard of. Did you know that chips were cooked in tallow until the 1990s? See, that's when corporations, they switched to the cheap processed seed oils. And I hate seed oils. I am trying to rid my diet of seed oils. Seed oils, they make up what? After eating them. There's no... Okay, so if you're ready to give them also a try, we had to do it here on Sidebar. Because look, we cover, as you know, all different kinds of lawsuits, breach of contract, intentional infliction of emotional distress, assault, battery. I will tell you right now, I feel fairly confident in saying I don't think we have ever covered a lawsuit like this one before, where you have a very popular TikTok star who is being sued by a woman.
Kirsten said, isn't Brene Akira's sister? No. I didn't hear that. I know that they were friends at one particular point. Jerica says that Brene got pregnant. Not y'all spilling the tea in the chat. Brene got pregnant by Tim in high school. The parents made her get rid of the fetus.
Who claims that
allegedly
she stole her husband from her. And believe it or not, in the law, there is an actual specific claim or claims you can sue for. I remember studying this in law school. I hadn't thought about it since then. And it was only now, when I hear about the story, that I remembered it. A few states recognize it. It's called alienation of affection. And you can also sue for something called criminal conversation, which is...
And mind you, there are a few states that have this alienation of affection law. However, the only state that I've seen people get sued for it is in North Carolina. I just told you two other people, Fantasia and Nene Leakes. Elle Singleton says Brene's ex-husband is suing Tim. Didn't he also testify in this case as well? The ex-husband and Tim are cousins. Yes, I did hear that. You guys are spilling the tea, but this video is going to talk about some of that too.
A claim here too. It's basically adultery. You can sue when someone has sexual intercourse with your spouse. And we're going to talk about this. This is a real thing. It is a real thing in the state of North Carolina where this is happening. So it's back in May of 2024. Akira Montague filed a $3.5 million lawsuit against viral TikTok star Brene Kennard. She's got over 274,000 followers on Instagram, nearly 3 million on TikTok. Talks about her life, get ready with me videos, doing product reviews, makeup lessons, and so forth.
Hey TikTok. So I have a couple things that I got from the TikTok shop that I want to show you guys. First up, this hydrating tint. If you don't want to wear a foundation, this would be great for you. If you've had this before, heard this brand, let me know.
And sometimes she appears with her husband, Tim.
Hi guys.
What's up, y'all? Hello.
We on here? Hey
What's up, y'all?
guys, it's Renee.
It's dope.
And now, Renee and Tim have found themselves in Akira's legal crosshairs. Akira sued for something called alienation of affection. And basically, it's alleging, you are responsible for my marriage ending. In North Carolina, which is only one of a few states that recognize this, you have to prove there was a real affection, real love between two people in a marriage. There was clear proof that a third party intentionally interfered with that marriage, and that the love, the marriage, the affection, it was destroyed, meaning the love was, quote, alienated. Is that easy to prove? Is it easy to prove in this kind of case? And you know why we're talking about this right now? Because the trial just happened. We actually just got a verdict on how all of this played out. Plus, Renee represented herself during this trial. And before we even get into the
Word on the street, Brene got dropped by 2 lawyers, but she ended up representing herself, allegedly.
back in September, got to mention this, Brene was charged with cyberstalking after Akira filed a
Brene and Akira got arrested, y'all.
formal complaint against her, accusing the social media star of harassing her online, showing up places, a filing saying, quote, Kennard constantly mentions my name, as well as posts my name and answers questions pertaining to my personal life and pending cases. And there was also an allegation.
Singer DSC said Carlos is creating a show about this as we speak.
That Brene violated a restraining order that Akira took out on her. Now, Brene was released at the time on a $2,500 bond. But when we talk about bad blood, it should also be noted that just days before Akira filed her lawsuit against Brene, there was a warrant that was issued for Akira's arrest, that she was purportedly threatening Brene by allegedly saying, I will kill you, and I will beat your bleep, and I know where you stay. This is according to the warrant. So in that criminal case, by the way, prosecutors allowed for Akira's prosecution to be deferred in exchange for 12 months of unsupervised probation, and she had to complete anger management classes and have no contact with Brene.
So both of them, Akira, who won the $1.75 million this week in regards to his alienation of affection law, and Brene, both were locked up. They won't let. Sidebar: Akon was locked up the other. I can't. He's out now.
So let me bring on an attorney who specializes in family law and divorces, Randy Kessler. Randy, thank you so much for taking the time.
Y'all remember Randy Kessler? You guys can't see Randy, but I can. Randy Kessler is the same lawyer that represented Portia Peach Juice Williams, formerly Gobadia, in both her divorces. Just wanted to give you that context because you can't see his face. I'm just letting you know. But he's going to give it because he works in family law. Akira is the first wife because now, don't forget, Brene, the one who lost and is being accused of breaking up their marriage, is now married to Akira's ex-husband. I know you need a diagram. I don't have it here. Look, I don't have it here.
Ever handled an alienation of affection case, a criminal conversation case? I mean, is this common? I know it's only in a few states. Have you ever handled anything like this?
So in a roundabout way, we certainly have. So it's only in 5 or 6 states. I practice primarily in Georgia where we don't have it. But we do have jury trials in Georgia. And so a lot of times what happens is my clients come in and say, she called my husband to leave me. I want to bring her in. So we can't sue her in Georgia and in most states. But you can sue the spouse and say, listen, because you did this, and you can bring them in as witnesses, and you can make their life uncomfortable. But the short answer is no. Very rarely, no states really have this except 5 or 6. And North Carolina being a close state to us, a lot of our clients say, well, what if I just move to North Carolina? You can't do that after the fact. But it's something we think about and talk about a lot. And we get asked the question all the time.
And my understanding, these are kind of laws that are...
Noda Queen says, if I ever get married, it'll be in North Carolina. Well, make sure you're a resident, too, because they talk about that with Randy.
Originated back in the day when it was, men still considered women property, essentially. So there's a reason you don't see this across the country. But how difficult are these claims to prove? So if you look at alienation and affection, you have to prove that there was a genuine love, affection, that there was a deliberate interference by a third party. I guess criminal conversation, you just have to prove what? That there was an affair, that there was an actual sexual intercourse going on during the course of the marriage. How difficult is this to prove, and what do you do to prove it? How do you prove it? What kind of evidence is introduced in these kinds of cases?
There's a whole bunch of it. I'm going to take a break for 1 second. We've evolved from fault divorce. You were talking about at the beginning, these laws go way back to where you had to have a reason to get a divorce. You had to prove somebody was cheating. And now in almost every state, you can get a divorce because I want a divorce. So it makes it hard to reconcile I want a divorce with pointing the finger at somebody else. So that's just to get to your first point. But as far as how hard is it to prove?
Ded says, I Googled Schmoogle. The law is in New Mexico. What's HA? Is HA Hawaii? North Carolina, North Dakota, MS, is that Missouri? And Utah. Are we shocked when it comes to Utah?
These cases, it's hard. You mentioned two, right? There's the alienation of affections and the criminal conversation. As I understand criminal conversation, it's what we call a strict liability case. Like if you prove that it happened, there's liability, even if the person cheating with the spouse.
Our resident attorney, Mrs. Squire, says it's difficult to prove. Oh, Mississippi. It's also in Mississippi. Are we shocked? No, I'm not shocked. Ms. Esquire, it's difficult to prove. That's why this story, this is why I'm talking about the story. Because I'm like, wait, she won? Ms. Esquire says it's used to far more widespread, but the patriarchy made sure it was removed from the laws. Ooh.
Didn't know the spouse was married. So that's an interesting one in and of itself. The other one, the bigger one, the one that they're really traveling under, the alienation of affection, is my husband left me because she made him leave me. And it's hard because most people say your husband left you because he didn't like you, or your husband went with somebody else because the relationship wasn't there. It's very hard to blame somebody else as if your spouse was not a willing participant, right? But that's what they have to do. They have to prove that the other person knew there was a marriage. The marriage still had some viability. There's still a chance the marriage can last. It doesn't have to be a perfect marriage, but some romance, and then it caused the divorce.
And that is a key factor in this case that I want to get into, because there's a difference of opinion when you hear what came out in trial.
Big Miss Muffin, yes. She says they were very public. That's why she had a case too. Yeah. Brene, the woman who lost this lawsuit, she shared her relationship on social media. She shared her life on social media, including her relationship.
So first of all, how did all this come about? Well, Akira alleges in the complaint that Brene and Tim started making these social media videos, this content together, while he was still married to Akira, like cooking videos, and that Akira didn't know about any of this or didn't sign off on any of this, even going so far as to allege that Brene would post pictures of Tim and the children he had with Akira, and she claims they were having an affair, that Brene was flaunting this online, that she herself found out about this alleged affair from a video of the two of them together in January of 2024. But when you go to the trial, okay, there are different versions here of the relationship and marriage, which becomes very important from a legal point of view. And by the way, a little preview of the trial, we would learn during the trial that Brene and Tim, they apparently dated in high school, that Brene's ex-husband testified that he found out the two were trying to get back together in December of 2023, even heard them being intimate in his house in January.
Damn. So Brene, the ex-husband, because they were still married, overheard, and he didn't do nothing? He didn't, I'm sure he must have did something. Cause I probably would have blacked out. You come home and your person is cheating on you. Oh, may that never find me, because y'all were like, damn, Kempire got locked up for what?
February of 2024. And the complaint also claims that Akira and Brene at one point were friends. That Brene allegedly used information that she learned from Akira about Tim, about their marriage, that she used that to seduce Tim. Now, before I get into all of that, okay, Randy, first of all, $3.5 million that she's suing for in compensatory and punitive damages. And again, we'll talk about the trial and everything that happened there, but $3.5 million in compensatory and punitive damages. Your thoughts on that number?
And you're right. And with the cousin, because we also keep in mind that too, Brene was with Tim, who's her now current husband, the one she was cheating with. They were cousins. Ew.
How do you prove that?
I know you guys are so confused right now. It's hard to keep up, but slowly but surely it will come together. Okay. Ms. Esquire says Devon, Brene's husband, ex-husband, is allegedly suing Tim under the same claims, and the trial is set for early 2026. Lord have mercy. And the fact that they won in this particular situation makes it look really good for Devon's case. Damn.
There's a lot there, and you have my mind working. I was listening to everything you said.
And the bad part about that, Akira and Tim have children. So you not with the, I can't keep up.
Jesse, and talking about, I started to think, rape is a bad example, but the defense can be consent. Someone consented, did you know about it? So there are all these defenses that are rolling through my lawyer brain, but the number, you asked me about the number. I don't know how you get to that number. One thing that lawyers always think about is collectability. Does it do a lot of good to bring a lawsuit if you can never collect it? And what's interesting here is this is one of those kind of cases where most clients, most plaintiffs don't really care as much about the number as the principle, right? They want to prove to the world, this lady caused my divorce. I'm not a bad wife. I didn't do anything wrong. It's because it's an outside person. I think the 3 million, 3.5 million, whatever she's seeking, it's got to be more of that, more of a, I want the world to know it's so bad that it's millions of dollars. So I don't know how else you quantify, 3.5, was my relationship worth 3.5 million? My relationship might have been worth 100 million, or might have been worth $10.
Hence why, this is why when people go to court and they're suing, they always, very much like with the Tyler Perry of it all, the guy that's suing Tyler Perry, Derek Dixon, he's like going in for 260 million, but he knows clearly he's not going to get 260 million. But you see, in this particular case, could you get half of 260 million? Yep.
But it's also pain and suffering, right? What you went through.
Yeah, but in a typical pain and suffering case, right? This we have, how much is a lost arm worth? If you break your leg, what's the value of that? What about a damaged kidney? You can find ways to prove how much that shortens your life and the medical bills associated with it. Then you multiply the medical bills by 3 to get a pain and suffering number. I mean, there's just no real numbers game, no math. It's a matter of, how bad does this make you feel? And from a lawyer's point of view, it's a straight face test. What can I walk in front of the jury and say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this should be compensated to the tune of, if I say $100 million, they're going to laugh. If I say 100,000, they're not going to take me seriously. So $3.5 million sounds like it,
And when you're talking punitive damages, right, a way to punish the defendant for really bad egregious egregious acts. You wonder in a case like this, if you're accusing somebody of stealing your husband and cheating, you wonder if a jury would side or a judge would side. So I mentioned that this trial just happened and it just concluded at the Durham County Courthouse. We're going to talk about how this all resolved. But Randy.
And my thing is, in regards to this Brene and Tim situation, and I know they dated back in high school, whatever. But if you would do something like this, what makes Tim or Brene think that they won't do it to each other? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you even trust each other? Or do you lie to yourself and like, we've always wanted to be together since high school and our families pulled us apart and that's why we weren't together? Is that how you justify and rationalize it in your brain that he or she will not do this to you? Okay.
First of all,
not they are delayed.
Was representing herself. Were you surprised by that? And the first thing I thought about, look, if she communicates on social media in a way where she got this following, that's a useful skill in maybe getting a jury on her side, right? It was her personality, the way that she spoke, that got a lot of people to follow her. I wonder if that's useful and maybe not the worst idea for her to represent herself, even though you and I both know it's more advantageous to have a lawyer represent you.
Right. Well, we know that famous old saying, right? He who represents himself.
It makes me wonder if she had really paid the money for an attorney, because like I said before, we had the Fantasia case, we had the Nene case in regards to the alienation of affection law. Ms. Esquire, please feel free to weigh in the chat. I wonder if she had an attorney, would she have come out of this better and not having to pay this woman anything? Ms. Esquire, a fool for a client. Yeah.
A fool for a client. Because you just don't have the objectivity. You don't really have a chance to read the jury. And she could always testify, and she would testify, of course, on direct examination. But it's guts, it's gumption to say that I'm smart enough to be able to, convince this whole jury. But maybe that's what's in her mind. She's got so many followers and people like her and adore her that maybe she thinks that's what's going to happen. The one skill set that most people don't have, and most lawyers don't have, and I'm still trying to figure it out, is voir dire, right? Jury selection. Because you're talking about what's going on in the jury's mind. You don't know what the background of each of these jurors, or what if one of these jurors sympathizes with one side or the other? What if they were the spouse that was cheated on? Or what if they were the paramour that broke up another marriage? You really got to figure out who's deciding this case. That's a hard skill to learn, especially for a non-lawyer.
No, that's a good point. Okay, I'm going to get to the verdict.
So, and we recently, in covering the Diddy trial, we talked about jury selection and how important that is and what goes through a lawyer's mind when choosing a jury. And if you're representing yourself and you don't have any law experience, so basically you're helping choose a jury that probably did not, not probably at this particular point, did not benefit you. Ms. Esquire says, I think she could have won if she had an attorney. She could still win on appeal if she employs an attorney. So that is what I think you're right, 100%. Because she does have the ability to appeal. She should appeal, but she definitely should not represent herself again.
But a few points I want to mention. Now, as I mentioned, in order to prove alienation of affection, you have to show that there was a genuine, real love in the marriage. So Akira gets on the stand and testifies that there was love between her and Tim, that Tim wrote her love letters daily, that they had matching tattoos, that the relationship continued well past when Tim claimed it ended, with the two having sex regularly. And she expressed sadness on the stand that her children lost both of their parents in this whole ordeal, that her kids are on the wait.
Hold on. Aaliyah says, oh, I forgot Brene's twin sister also slept with Tim. See, it just gets worse and worse and worse. The ghetto. What? I missed that particular part. What? Huh? Her twin sister also slept with him? Whatever happens to all these people, they deserve it. They all deserve it.
They're, quote, going through a lot of behavioral changes. Her mother also testified that Akira and Tim were, quote, inseparable. There were texts that were apparently presented in court where Tim was planning a surprise birthday party for Akira. But then you have Tim's side of it, okay? And completely different. And Tim was called by Brene, by the way, again, she was representing herself. He had a completely different...
How will someone say, is Tim that fine? I'm not going to say he's fine, but he's not ugly either.
That the two were more like, quote, roommates than deeply in love. Even saying he was never in love with Akira, that he bought her a cheap engagement ring, that he didn't even get down on one knee when he proposed, that they were essentially in this weird living situation where they were forced to marry in order for them to stay at Tim's parents' place. He testified he never wrote those love notes, even testifying, quote, I can't even recall a time when we held hands. He testified that they fought all the time, too, that he had a different timeline of when the relationship ended, saying that they separated in 2021, but Akira's mom said they were still a couple. Now, Randy, that's a big aspect here. I mean, it's trying to prove whether or not there was real love and affection in the marriage, but you also wonder, both parties testifying, are they biased in their testimony?
Well, maybe she should be a lawyer, because that is the exact strategy you have to use. You have to prove that the marriage wasn't viable. It was not a real marriage. You didn't break up something because there wasn't anything to break up in that situation. The marriage was not a real marriage. The problem she has is that it's not a criminal trial where you have to get all 12 jurors. All you have to do is get a compromised verdict. And sometimes you're going to have some of the people saying yes, some of the people saying no, and the jury might say, I think 3 men, I think 0, and they compromise down to the middle. Something like that sometimes happens. So
now, here's another part of the story that we haven't mentioned yet. Okay, so Brene was apparently staying with Akira and Tim since December of 2023, something that Akira didn't want. And although Brene claims she didn't know that Akira was uncomfortable about this, Akira's grandmother testified that she actually confronted Brene, asked her to leave the home. She claims that Brene responded saying, Akira, you better come get your grandma because I don't have a problem putting my hands on an old lady. This is
the ghetto. So for those that didn't understand what just happened, what played out, Brene was staying with Akira and Tim from December of 2023. And the grandmother was not the abuela, Tanya says. The abuela was like, I don't like what's going on here. And she told Akira, you better come get this lady out because I'll fight an old lady. Excuse me?
And Kennard, again, that is according to the grandmother's testimony. And apparently Tim even corroborated that there were words exchanged between the two. This is when he testified. Now, this grandmother also testified that she and Brene actually got into a pushing match. Tim denied that happening.
Not a pushing match. Miss Esquire says, I don't think she represented as sympathetic. That makes it even harder to win over a jury. That's another reason to have an attorney. It puts a veil between you and the jury. Thank you, Miss Esquire, because that makes complete sense.
By the way, when talking evidence, I got to mention this. Apparently there was...
Because you have to think about, in regards to what Miss Esquire said, if you're representing yourself and the jury is trying to make a determination about you and your character, and you're up there and you're asking questions of Akira too, they're looking at you like, oh, because for me, that's your testimony. You're up there, they're seeing you every day, they're seeing how you act, you're interacting with people and people involved in the situation. That is your testimony. And they're looking and they're paying attention to this and they're like,
footage that was shown to the jury, footage of Brene twerking on Tim while in a bathroom while he was married to Akira. Brene testified that she was just drunk in those clips. There was another video of Brene buying a pregnancy test after saying, I'm getting down and dirty in the sheets. There was another video where Brene apparently says, I make her very uncomfortable. So seemingly about Akira. There was reportedly a snap.
So this is they're proving the alienation of affection situation. And based on some of this sharing way too much on social media, see, that could be your downfall.
Chat story that was presented to where she talked about her legal issues and said that Tim was, quote, worth it. Randy, in your opinion, how does that affect the case?
Oh boy. All right. So, we've got all the law that we've talked about and what you have to prove and picking a jury. But really what jury trials come down to, in my experience, is likability, right? You want to tell a story and you want the jury to like your side and then to figure out how can you help your side. So if this alienates the jury, if this makes the jury like or dislike one side, they're going to be more likely to bend the law or view the law as it helps their viewpoint. They want to help award damages or they want to defend the defendant and not award damages. But those are some unlikable facts. Those are the kind of things that make people say, really? You couldn't just be normal? You couldn't wait till they were divorced? You couldn't keep your hands off grandma? I mean, those are the kind of things that might hit home. There might have been someone on the jury that had an experience like that, and it just triggers something that makes them say, I don't like that person. I'm going with this side.
And from a legal point of view, it's trying to show that she deliberately interfered with the marriage, right? Now, Brene's counter-argument was that she was being targeted, that she was being...
Alexis says, in court, she said that she's mad I took her spot. Crazy. Can you imagine? Why didn't I know about this earlier? Because I would have been watching this. And was this on court TV? Because I would have been like, duh. Did she just say that in court? Because there were cameras in court. And for those that are just joining us, we're talking about this TikTok star story. You've probably been following this on TikTok. Law and Crime is breaking down the legal aspect of this case where the ex-wife was awarded $1.75 million in this alienation of affection law that we've talked about before when it came to Nene Leakes and Fantasia Barrino.
Targeted in this lawsuit because of her social media fame, that she wasn't the reason the marriage fell apart. Brene saying to the jury in a closing argument, quote, this was a marriage that had been falling apart for years. And that goes back to what Randy said at the beginning, trying to prove that, hey, I'm not the cause of it. Tim didn't love her. He was going to break up with her. There was things that were going on between them. I'm not the reason here. Now, it seems that the real fireworks happened in court when Brene questioned Akira on the stand. And apparently it got really tense, okay? When she questioned her, for example, about how Akira suffered a miscarriage. And Brene apparently said in court in response to that, that must have been painful for you, right? Now, the reporting from the News and Observer claims that people in the gallery actually gasped, with even a few jurors looking just shocked that she said that to Akira. And Akira reportedly responded, well, I wouldn't expect you to know since you don't have children. Oh. So the judge had to get involved here. Judge Timothy Wilson.
Got the tea. The tea.
He had to step in and said to Brene, you don't need to express your sympathy, and told Akira, you don't need to make comments. At another point, when Brene questioned Akira about her blaming her for struggling.
But can you imagine how the jury is looking at this interaction, and now they're making a judgment call because now you're seeing an interaction between the person that's being the defendant and the plaintiff. You're seeing this interaction, and that could have been that sealed the deal for the jury.
School, right? The allegation was, look what you did, you kind of ruined my life. Akira responded, I take accountability for allowing
Moho says, I'm late and lost, but invested.
An intruder into my home. Randy, that is like, obviously there's bad blood between them, and it's very awkward and unusual to have the defendant herself questioning the plaintiff, particularly the animosity between the two. What'd you make of that?
Made for TV, right? I imagine security was doubled when they said, guess who's going to be cross-examining who? Guess who's going to be, getting to ask questions. I mean, it's almost, and again, it's a dramatic over example, but it's.
No, the only person being sued here is, well, he's being sued separately by his cousin, Devon. He's being sued under the same law.
The rapist getting to question the victim, right? It's the person who's accused of breaking up the marriage getting to question the victim of this whole situation. It's just a terrible situation. I'm sure they were thinking things that they probably didn't say. Thank goodness they didn't say them, and I'm sure security was doubled. But that's that had to be the highlight of the trial. And if you're going to go watch a trial and you get to see something like that, that's the moment you want to see. That's the pinnacle. But for the verdict, right?
And we're going to get to the verdict in a minute. But little side note here: you mentioned security. Tim, he was arrested during the trial outside the courtroom. Yeah, he was charged with carrying a concealed 9mm handgun in the courthouse. He was actually released after posting a 20.
What is wrong with these fools? Why do you have a pow 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 at the court?
$500 bond. Just a little side note here in the story. Anyway, okay, now let's talk about the verdict. So after reportedly almost 2 hours of deliberations, the jury came back with
all of them got a record. Wait, all of them got a record now. Brene was arrested for cyber stalking. Akira was arrested for threatening. Now Tim was arrested for bringing a pow 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 to the court. All of them got a mugshot.
Found Brene liable for breaking up this marriage. And when it came to damages, according to the News and Observer, the judge ordered Brene to pay $1.5 million for alienation of.
I love that saying, Tish. Isn't that Nigerian saying, wisdom chases them, but they are faster? That is my favorite saying.
Affection and $250,000 for criminal conversation. Randy, the suit was for $3.5 million in damages. Even so, that's a pretty hefty payday when you think about that number. Let's start with the number, and then let me ask you about why you think the jury found Brene liable. Let's start with the number. What'd you make of the number?
First off, it's incredible, right? Anything over $1 million is something magical. Every lawyer, when we go to law school, if you can get out of law school and say, I got a verdict for $1 million, that's a win, right? In almost any situation, except for when it's a class action lawsuit. What I think happened is, and this is just my experience from juries, when I polled the jury and asked them what they did, there was usually a few extremists. Somebody that said, let's not give anything because you don't get rewarded for stuff like this. It's not a money thing. It's a family thing.
Well, here, I think, by the way, I think it was the judge that determined the damages here. Yeah.
In that case, then the judge probably had the thing going on in his mind because, is it absolutely nothing? Is it something in the middle? I think, likability comes into play when you come up with a number, right? I mean, it's a number that's really a figment of your imagination.
Pause. Noda Queen says one of the jurors was so disgusted she walked out of the court. Did they have to go bring her back in? Why did you like? Now we could talk to the jury. Now that the case is over, now we could talk to the jury. Now they're free to talk about the case.
There's no real concrete basis for the number. It's got to be some sort of, in your mind, okay, I didn't like what she did, but I've seen worse, and I didn't like what he did, but it's worse. It's a compromise verdict, but it sends a message that there was something that needed to be compensated, and it's a big number. It sounds like if I was just deciding who won, plaintiff won.
And what is it? The jury didn't believe Brene's side of the story. She didn't believe Tim. They didn't believe Tim. In other words, it seems that they're saying, we talk about it in the law, but for them.
Jerica says the texts were very graphic. Noda Queen says, I think she fully quit. Damn. So they had a replacement come in? Shalom says, when I saw the story this morning, I was intrigued. Then I saw the other woman and was purely shook.
This affair, but for them getting together, this marriage would have continued between Akira and Tim. I mean, is that what their conclusion is? And what do you think? Why do you think the jury found Brene liable?
I think that's a natural conclusion. Would the marriage have lasted forever? They don't have to decide that. I mean, they looked at the elements of the law. Was there this relationship? Did it interfere with the marriage? Was the marriage still at all viable? And then what were the damages? They found that this marriage would have continued, but for this, it might have ended it for another reason, or there might have been another relationship or another paramour. But this certain paramour caused the end of the affections. It alienated the parties from their affections for each other. They found that the law applied, and they applied the facts of the law, and found that the plaintiff won.
And also, I will tell you that Robinetta Jones, who was the attorney for Akira, told this to local outlet WRAL News. Quote, she has just received justice from losing her husband and the father of her children. Just such an unusual case. Again, I wanted to cover it from a legal point of view. This is a sad case. You're talking about a lot of emotions here, a lot of bad blood, children involved. But this has been quite the saga, to say the least. Randy?
Do you guys want to hear from Brene? because I do have a clip from Brene and what Brene had to say in regards to this case. Please hold. Is this the... Yes, this is the video. Please hold. So this was that was a celebration. When the jury came back with their deliberation, there was a celebration from Akira and her friends and family in the courthouse.
Sound of a $1.75 million cheer coming just moments after.
Wait, do you think the reason why Tim brought the pow 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 to court was because he was scared for his safety?
After court was adjourned.
Because there were a lot of people there.
Akira Montague embraced her attorney, Robinetta Jones, as dozens of supporters yelled from the sidelines. Akira Montague's lawsuit, filed in Durham County Court, accuses Brene Montague, an influencer with nearly 3 million followers on TikTok, of seducing and having an affair with her then-husband, Tim. That affair then turning to marriage when Brene and Tim wed. In the suit, Akira Montague claimed Brene used her online influence as a weapon. The affair also caused damage to her health and deprived her kids of a two-parent household.
And it was nothing but lies.
Brene Montague, who represented herself in court.
Ms. Esquire says, I think he brought it because his elevator doesn't go past the basement. In regards to Tim bringing the pow 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 to the courthouse.
Slammed the verdict, saying Akira Montague knew her marriage was over and allowed the affair.
So this is Brene speaking, y'all. Shh, pay attention. This is Brene speaking.
Gave her consent. She
said Akira, the wife, the original wife, gave her consent.
It was okay because she knew her marriage was over with and it was done.
But the jury didn't agree, awarding Akira Montague the $1.75 million after more than 700 pieces of evidence were presented in court, including some of Brene's own TikToks and texts. The case hinged on two rarely used laws, including alienation of affection.
It can be very hard to prove, and the reason is because it's hard to find a point in a relationship where the relationship necessarily started to go bad.
But in these videos and in the court testimony, the jury found that point, leaving Brene Montague with a hefty bill and no answer on how she'll pay.
I don't know, but she'll probably never see it.
She said, I don't know, I'm going to pay this, but she'll probably never see it. I don't know if it's that simple, girl, because you don't seem that bright in regards to how to secure your assets. But okay. So I wanted to bring these different stories to you guys. Let's do some Q&A. If you guys have comments or questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Don't forget to like this video. It's easy, free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. Ms. Esquire says collecting civil judgments can be a challenge, but she can hit her bank accounts, wages, income from TikTok. That's what I'm saying. Tax refunds, because remember, she probably makes a ton of money from TikTok. Tax refunds, place liens on their home and owned cars, and bankruptcy can discharge it. Oh, bankruptcy can't discharge it. Yes, and they can garnish YouTube too, as well. You remember, we learned a lot of this from the Tasha K and the Cardi B of it all. But with TikTok, I'm sure, I mean, if they can get somebody on TikTok on the phone, because, you know, it's hard with TikTok. Tanya said, lean on lean. And clearly, based off her behavior and her response to whether or not this woman's going to see the money, I mean, says to me she's going to try and hide whatever fund she's making. But I don't know. Ms. Esquire, question. If her TikTok is under an LLC, will that be a way of her protecting those funds? Just saying. Just asking. Tasha K ended up having to pay. I don't know if she's paid anything yet, but she still has to pay. Ms. Esquire says the judgment will be on her credit report. Lord have mercy. Tish says, I work with bank garnishments. Those things can last forever. Lord have mercy. The words of Nene Leakes, close your legs to married men. Here's the thing. This probably wouldn't have gone far if she had hired an attorney. And it didn't have to be necessarily the greatest or most expensive attorney, because like we've been saying, and like Ms. Esquire said in the chat, just the element of having that separation where you have the attorney speaking for you and they're not seeing a ghetto interaction between you and the plaintiff, that probably sealed the deal for her fate. Elsie says Tasha has not paid a penny. She says she ain't got it. What part of that y'all don't understand? She said she ain't got it. But that's probably that's following her. That's why it says if she's paid an income as an employee or agent of the LLC, she can reach the funds. Also, you can't simply pierce the veil of an LLC and reach the individual. Oh, no public defender because not a criminal matter. I didn't say public defender. Oh, someone said it in the chat. Oh, because I was like, who's a public defender? Oh, someone probably asked if she could have gotten a public defender. No, this is a civil case, y'all. Blanche says she wanted to go at her in court. That's why she didn't hire an attorney, and that's why she lost. I heard that she had 2 other attorneys that she parted ways with. But again, you hear a lot of stuff, especially when it's these types of cases. You hear a lot of rumors, and you don't know what's true from what's not true. That's why I wanted to focus on the legality of it all. But that's what they said, that she did have other attorneys, but she ended up representing herself. Mr. Mellon says she could have hired Phaedra. I don't know if Phaedra is able to practice law in North Carolina. I don't know. I think even if she doesn't pay, this will follow her forever. Just dumb. Never make me this dumb over a man, please. And my thing is just the whole basis of their relationship. You think that man's going to be loyal to you, or you think she's going to be loyal to you? Ms. Esquire says to Mr. Mellon Magic, Phaedra could have won this one, and that's not saying much. That's what I'm saying. She didn't need a big time attorney. It would have been worth it for her. Now she's going to have to. Well, again, like Miss Esquire said, Brene, if you see this girl, appeal it, but appeal it with an attorney, because then more than likely this could probably be squashed. But girl, karma ain't gonna be squashed though, because if you were trifling gonna follow you. Just saying. And Miss Esquire told us that Brene's ex-husband, who's the cousin to Tim that she's now married to, is suing him under the same law, alienation of affection, which he's entitled to. Does the husband have a value of $1 million over? No, he doesn't. He's her manager. That's it. He's her manager. And that's your manager. And look, your manager did not advise you, like, girl, you shouldn't represent yourself. The energy that she gave out, Brene, she will get later for sure. Hold on. Miss Esquire says, I think Brene is dangerous and Akira needs to get far away. That lady is obsessed with Akira in a very unsafe way. Unfortunately, though, Tim has kids with Akira. So they'll forever be having to work on this relate. That is correct. This is some hot mess. Elsie says, Kempire, do you remember Tawana Brawley of New York? She was sued civilly in the late 80s for lying on a police officer. Tawana said that she's still under garnishment. Yes, I remember. I was a baby, if anything, when that happened. But that story always came up. And wasn't Al Sharpton tied to that case, right? What was his role in that case? He came out in her defense or something like that? I can't remember. But she's still affected by the garnishments of that. Lord have mercy, Lord. Amber says, I would never trust my children alone with that lady. And then I saw someone in the chat said that she was making the children call her mommy. He is her manager like Rocky is Latasha's manager, Miss Parker said. Miss Esquire says he's unsafe too. Get full custody, only supervised visitation, and no overnights. A standing restraining order against Brene. See, Miss Esquire, God forbid, because it's never going to happen to me, and I will never have to reach out to you. But if I know of someone that has it, I'm like, we need to call Miss Esquire, because she always got a plan. That's a very good plan. Elsie says, yes, Al Sharpton supported Tawana Brawley. I knew it. The police officer sued Al too. Ooh, did he have to pay anything? When did that happen? That happened in the 80s, right? I was a baby, and Al Sharpton was heavier. That was the heavier Al Sharpton. He's lost a lot of weight since then. He was Tawana's attorney. That's right. I'm a Virgo, baby. I know. Look, I know. Blanche says this story just keeps getting worse and worse. We need a chart to sort this out. Jazzaline, I know. Okay, let me just paint the picture for you for those that don't understand this TikTok star. So there's Brene. Okay. Wait, before we get into it, let me just say thank you, Noda Queen, because I'm on my phone. I'm not on my computer. Noda Queen says, thank you, Noda Queen, for the super chat. After being grown with Tim, Brene made Akira's oldest kid bring her a baby wipe to clean their mess. She needs to pay every dime and Akira needs full custody. You got to be kidding me. Miss Escar, I did see the rumors about that in regards to the twin sister and Tim having a baby. I don't know if there's any truth to it. Those are allegations that are out there, but it wouldn't shock me based off of what we've gone, which played out in court. Miss Esquire, that's the most sickening fact. Oof. Exactly. Jen says they need your "Are you okay?" merch. They are not okay. Maybe on the back, I need to do new merch where it says "Are you okay?" on the front, and then on the back it should say "I am not." Okay, I am not, or you are not. Okay. There was something else that I wanted to mention in regards to this. If you guys haven't already, be sure to like the video. We're almost at 300 likes. And if you're not following, be sure to follow me as well. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. We just had some hot topics that I wanted to talk about and cover. If you're part of the replay crew, again, be sure to share your thoughts in the comment section or any tea that you know about this whole situation. But let me paint the picture for you for those that don't understand what was happening in regards to this last story. So you have Brene Kennard, who is the TikTok influencer. So that's Brene. TikTok influencer, has like thousands of followers on Instagram, almost 3 million followers on TikTok. She shares her life on TikTok, everything about her life and her reviews of products and things like that. Okay? You got Brene. Then you have Tim Montague, who's married. So both of them are married to different people, but the husbands are cousins. Okay? Jasmine says, okay, writing this down. Brene is married to another man. That's the cousin to Tim Montague, who's married to Akira Montague. Cute, real cute. Both of them are cute, really. I feel like Akira's cuter, though. That's just me, personal preference, okay? So, Akira and Tim are married. Happily married, according to her. Brene, though, apparently knew Tim when they were in high school. They were together. Apparently, she had gotten pregnant by him. She had to terminate the pregnancy. Okay. Families had them separated. All right, whatever. I might be getting some of this mixed up, but I'm just trying to paint the skeleton for you. All right? So, apparently, Brene ends up living with Tim in 2023, December of 2023, almost 2 years ago. Literally almost 2 years ago. And that's apparently when the affair started, allegedly. And probably started way before then. Okay? They end up having an affair, allegedly. I'm going to still say allegedly. Tim and Brene. Okay? They end up having an affair. Akira finds out about it and is now suing. I'm giving you an abridged version, okay, because we've already gone through this. So Akira ends up suing Brene under the alienation of affection law in North Carolina. Remember, we talked about that with Nene Leakes. We talked about that with Fantasia Barrino. So Akira sues Brene under that law. We found out during this live from Miss Esquire that Devon, who was married to Brene, the TikTok star, is suing Tim, his cousin, under the same law. And all three of them, or at least the three, I don't know if Devon has a mugshot, have a mugshot. Brene got a mugshot for cyber stalking. Akira got a mugshot for threatening Brene. Tim got a mugshot because his dumb self decided to bring a pow 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 to the courthouse during this trial. He was later released on $500 bond. Jesse's one to Perry Mason. I think I broke that down pretty nicely. Shalom says, how old are these people? Grown. Grown. And they have children. Angelique says, wait, I'm gonna need to rewind to follow this. Tish says, the last girl I let live with me slept with my dude and I ended up hospitalized. Excuse me? See? Foxy says, this story is cray-cray. Noda Queen says, Brene moved in with them after accusing her husband of DV. Thank you, Noda Queen. So that's why Brene ended up moving in with them. And then the grandmother was like, I don't like this situation. Brene does not need to be living with you. And Brene goes to Akira. I will fight your grandmother. I will fight an older person. Noda Queen says Brene is 26. They all around the same age. Singer said, thank you, Singer. Singer DST says, Kempire, your breakdown was amazing. I thought it was okay. But if it helped, you're welcome. Yes, the grandmother was involved, Miss O. Threatening the grandmother. Thank you, Marissa. Roro says, this is entertaining. This is why I brought it to us, because only we could keep key on this and be like, may this never find any of us. May this never find any of us. Alma says, these New York men will cheat and you get nothing. I'm tired. Maybe I need to move to North Carolina. Everyone say that maybe they should move to North Carolina. What was the biggest payout in regards to alienation? I think someone said it was like $30 million, but they didn't end up getting the $30 million, right? Miss Esquire says, this pie chart inside of the histogram wrapped in a scattered plot tucked inside a Kelly Rowland Excel spreadsheet. Ow! Oh my gosh. Yeah. Hey, Nina. Oh, damn. Noda Queen says, mind you, they all in grandma's house. I didn't realize that they were all in grandma's house. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Really? Well, now, okay, wait, rewinding. So Miss Esquire said that Devon, Tim's cousin, the one that Brene's now, she's divorced from, if she accused him of DV, I wonder if she has any proof of that, because that might put a hole in Devon's lawsuit against Tim for alienation of affection. Yes, that's going to be another lawsuit, okay? But that might hurt his case if there's any proof that there was DV, because then they could prove that there was a breakdown in their relationship. This is crazy. This is crazy. There are TikTokers that can give you a full breakdown because they have invested from the start. Oh, thank you, Sissy, Nicole. Because, and I know, I figured there would be. I figured, but this was breaking news, so I didn't have time to give you everything. Miss Esquire, I cannot even read that comment, but I see the comment, Miss Esquire. I see the comment. Noda Queen says a lot of TikTokers went to court and were giving live updates. I kept up with everything. Thank you, Noda Queen. So you're helping us produce and give us updates in regards to this story. There were a lot of people in the court, so I'm guessing some of those TikTokers were also celebrating with Akira. That's crazy, though. And Tim bringing a pow to the court. How dumb do you have to be? Didn't he realize? Didn't they check him? Anyway. Let's go. We see each other. It ran through my mind, but you know. Sissy says that she accused of DV to get into their home. That makes her even more sinister. And Tim should be worried about that. But again, I'm not. One of them made a song. It's really good. Noda Queen says one of them made a song and it's really good. No. I heard a remix to Ashley Darby's Killing Me Softly with his song. Tiz says, are they still living with the granny? Is anyone still living with the granny? Maybe Akira is? Who's living with the granny now? Is anyone? Noda Queen, do you know? Anyone living with the granny still? Lord. Jessalyn says, Ashley's harming us at this point. Tanya says, Abuela and her chancleta. Or chancla. She scammed her followers in 2021. Jerica says that she scammed her followers in 2021 in getting a breast reduction from Dr. Miami, but it never happened. You're talking about Brene. Ms. Esquire says it blows my mind that Tim did this to his wife and his cousin. That tells you a lot about him. Tamara says, I heard she started a GoFundMe to get a breast reduction. Damn, y'all spilling the tea. To get a breast reduction and never got the reduction and made a live telling people who donated to calm down. What? Her brand is just telling about her life. So she made a GoFundMe. So did y'all didn't report the GoFundMe? So isn't that grounds? Because isn't that lady that claims she got hit by a brick they had to refund everybody their money? That's crazy. You guys are giving me. Elsa says, "What's Brene's zodiac? Can someone find out, please?" Kirsten says, "Granny said all you heathens need to get out of my house." Do we know if any of these heathens are still under her roof? Wait, whose grandmother was it? Was it Tim's grandmother or was it Akira's grandmother? I'm guessing it was Akira's grandmother. So maybe Akira's still living there. Tanya says, please don't be a Libra. Blanche says, Tim bragging about the lackluster proposal and not being romantic with Akira didn't help Renee's case at all. Missy says, please don't be a Cancer. The Amber says, please don't be a Gemini. She's a Capricorn. Oh, it was Akira's grandmother, Jerica says. Okay, I figured that. Once I started thinking about it. One of these men is a Cancer, Jocelyn says. You know what? One of the 9 states check local legislators to see if you're eligible. Lord. You guys are a mess. Brene better not be a Taurus. Don't even put that out into the universe. Right? Since he said this is not a Capricorn trait. Do not put that on us. I was about to say I would have been shocked. That's why you have to know people's moon and rising. The other is a Gemini. Wait, who? None of this is Capricorn behavior. Leave us out of it. Okemia says that Taurus would never. I agree. She's a Capricorn, Talia? Bravo needs to jump on. No, they don't. No, they don't. Oh, Jesse says, I don't know, Kemp. I'm guessing. Brene sounds like a good Gemini. The apartment they were living in was in Akira's grandmother's name. Oh, my God. So they were living... She must not be making much money off of TikTok if she can't afford to live on her own. Boss for Renegade says, please do not put this on a Cancer. If she's a Leo, it's giving... I'm giving up on zodiac signs altogether. Lord have mercy. Not Karamo is calling them folks now. Lord have mercy. Is that what Karamo show is like? It's like Jerry Springer. Like that girl says this is Zeus or Tubi coded. Leave Bravo out of this. Tyler's already writing a 1,000 word script. Done. Y'all are a mess in this comments. Jennifer Lewis could play the grandma or Jackie from 227. Jackie, you mean? Lord. All right, y'all. To sum it up, that was a hot mess. I will try and add some timestamps to the people watching the replay. Don't forget, you can also hear an audio version of this on the Kempire podcast. So subscribe today. All right. And all the other information in regards to us will be available in the description. So be sure to check that out. And I appreciate you all being here. Thank you to our King's Guards. Thank you to our channel members. Thank you to our resident attorney, Miss Esquire, for chiming in. Thank you to those of you that have been following this case on TikTok and in bringing it here to help us keep up. We appreciate you. Let's continue this conversation in the comment section. If you follow me on TikTok, I will be going live on TikTok in about a half hour. Give me a moment. So follow me on TikTok, y'all. Okay? The Kempire on TikTok. And in that Kempire news channel, report them. Report them, report them, report them. And they're probably watching this video right now. Report them. All right. Good night, y'all. Bye, y'all. Thank you guys for the super chats and the Venmos and the Cash Apps. I appreciate your support. Bye, y'all.